What's up, nerds and nerdettes and we little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big John and G from Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. So, what's up? We got another midday monologue coming up, and today's subject is something that me, Anthony, and Alex were talking about this weekend. If you've been watching our shows regularly, then this isn't going to be too much of a surprise to you, because it has something to do with what happened this weekend. And what I want to talk about is game balance. I guess is the best way to describe it, to call it game balance. Now, every game needs a good balance. Every game needs a good balance, whether it's a cooperative game or whether it is a competitive game. But there are some games that the game balance, I feel, is more needed and more important than most other types of board games. And that type of game is the one versus all game. Highly important that balance is a very big factor. When the rules are set up, when the play testing is done, it has to come out really balanced. Otherwise, one side is never going to want to play the game again. So, why don't we sit down, talk about what happened, talk about ideas about it, and whatever else comes to our mind. All right, everyone, thanks for checking us out, and let's talk about this. So, what I mean with game balance is it's very important in a game for you to feel like you want to feel like you're in trouble. You want to feel like you might not win, but at the same time, it can't feel too easy. Now, for my regular viewers and anyone that watched our 20-Sided Shots first impression of Gamelyn Games' Tiny Epic Zombies, you just heard us talking about that when we were discussing how we felt about our, first impression of the game. Now, we're all big fans of Gamelyn Games' Tiny Epic series. We enjoy them all from one degree to another. Our favorite one is quite easily, hands down, Tiny Epic Galaxies with the Beyond the Black expansion, which I just talked about last Tuesday. So I'm going to talk about expansions in my Tabletop Takeout Tuesday section, and I was talking about that. The new game had us really, really psyched, especially Alex, who hadn't backed a Gamelyn game before. So we got it to the table, we ran through it. Now, a couple of nights prior, I did a kind of faux game of it, trying a little one-player versus AI, and I thought I was doing something wrong. I thought I was having some problems with it. So at our sit-down, our playthrough, I figured that would fix everything. You know, we would notice the problems that I had, the rules that I missed, and it would make the game seem fuller somehow. That didn't happen. So, if you didn't watch 20-Sided Shots, we decided to play. It has 5 different modes. It has 2 modes versus an AI zombie, one competitive, one cooperative, and then again, a competitive and a cooperative against a zombie player. And then there's a solo game. So we played cooperative, and I decided to let Anthony try playing the zombie player, because although Anthony is a good cooperative player, he really comes alive in all versus all style games. He really does. The competitive games are his forte. So I figured, Anthony's one of my oldest friends in the entire world. Why don't I just, do him this favor, and he'll have fun, and if he's having fun, that'll help all of us have fun. If you saw the 20-Sided Shots, or if you didn't see it, spoiler, it didn't quite go that way. Our biggest problem with the game is, and I said this, and I think Alex and Ryan mentioned this also, we never felt threatened. The first round, we didn't feel threatened. The first round, it was more like, a little bit of a leery what if. What if I do this, what can he do, kind of thing. It may have spilled over a little into the second round. But after that, we realized we weren't in much trouble. It was so easy to regain health. It was so easy to regain bullets. Anthony never had a chance he had chances. See, that's the problem. He had chances to spawn zombies, but we kept mowing right through them. So after the 20-sided shots, we got into a conversation about this, and that's what's led to today's midday monologue. Now, there are two other games I want to point out that I have in my collection that the 20-sided warriors have played that are one versus all games, where balance is very important. And these three games, including the Tiny Epic Zombies, I think are three great examples of how this system both works and how it doesn't work. So we do need, and I admit this, we need a few more games under our belt of Tiny Epic Zombies. Definitely want to try competitive and want to try AI mode, and of course I'll probably end up doing solo showdown on one of the Friday night fillers coming up. But the problem is I was left with such a bad taste in my mouth after Tiny Epic Zombies. Kind of feel like it was rushed out too fast. They didn't do enough play testing on it. And I hate to say this because I really love Gamelin and I like Scott Alm's games that he publishes through the company, but I kind of feel like they just rushed it out knowing it was going to do great on the initial Kickstarter, knowing that it wasn't perfect and it wasn't ready yet, getting feedback from all the players, and now next year I'm feeling like we're going to see Tiny Epic Zombies 2nd edition. That to me feels like a ripoff. You're using me and my money for play testing. That's a no-no. Now I'm not saying that's what Gamelin has done. I have no facts to back this up. I'm saying this is how I feel. This is the feeling I've gotten. It seems like Tiny Epic Defenders all over again. And that seems like a waste of my money. When you start messing with my wallet, that upsets me. Now, the other two games I want to point out, I think that between the three of them, make a very good example for this conversation we're having today, this monologue I'm having, well, let's take a look at a classic. That's Descent. I have the 2nd edition. Whether you have the 1st, the 2nd, or none, it really doesn't matter, because it seemed like, from everything I heard from the 1st edition, one thing didn't change from the 1st to the 2nd, and that is Fantasy Flight Games worked out a really, really tight system of balance. Every time I've run that, and I've only run that game as the DM, or Overseer, or whatever they call it in that game, and it's always been kind of tight. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, sometimes the players feel like they have no chance of winning, sometimes I feel like I don't have a chance of winning. So the balance is there. Each particular game might feel a little bit unbalanced, but overall, when you take one part of the campaign to another, you get an overall balance, I've noticed, with Descent. Now, on the other hand, there's a game I really wanted to love. I wanted to love this game so bad, and you know what it's like. You hear about a game, and whether it's because it's the theme, the genre, or the style of game it is, or maybe the game designer or even the game company, you get really excited about it. And then you get the game, and you get it to the table, and it doesn't pop for you. And you get it to the gaming table a second time and a third time, thinking maybe the first one something was wrong. And it still just doesn't pop for you. And that game is by Greater Than Games, and that is Sentinel Tactics, which is a miniature combat superhero game based on their Sentinel comic books, Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. I love that card game. It is always in my number 1 and number 2 slot, depending on my mood at the moment. So I was so hyped for this, and I got it, and I went out and I did something I usually don't do. I spent the extra money to buy the pre-painted minis. I don't normally do that. If it comes with minis, fine. If they're painted, beautiful. I love that. If they're not painted, too bad. What am I going to do? I'm not a minis painter. But for these, I love this game so much. Well, the system. The system. I love the company and the comic book system that they've created. So I wanted to love this game so bad. I admit there was another reason why I did end up getting the pre-painted minis. That's because I've been slowly trying to collect some hero clicks for the Marvel board games and the old TSR Marvel superhero game I want to reintroduce to the group. So I thought that would be great counters. And one of the things I want to do is, in my Mutants and Masterminds role-playing game, is I have a crossover story in mind with Marvel and DC, and using the Marvel and DC hero clicks for the respective characters is cool, but I wouldn't have anything to use for M&M, so I was thinking, I could use these pre-painted Sentinels of the Multiverse as stand-in pieces for our M&M characters. So I did have an ulterior motive. I could get the words out. I did have an ulterior motive for spending the extra money, because it was going to go that extra length for me. But overall, the game itself, Sentinel Tactics, and the Flames of Freedom expansion they came out with, bombed. Just bombed completely. And it's not just me. Everyone that bought the game I've read anything about did not like this game. They didn't like the game because it is so unbalanced. It was impossible for me to win as a villain. The heroes have so much movement, so much power, so many things that they can do, and the villains are so limited in what they're able to do that it is completely overpowered for the heroes. So you're looking at these three games. You're looking at Sentinel Tactics, which is completely unbalanced for the players. You're looking at Descent, which I feel falls very comfortably in the middle and did a good job of the balance. And then you have our run so far of Tiny Epic Zombies, which has left us feeling really, really bad. And that's a game where, again, the villain's not going to win. It's not geared for the villain. You can't get enough zombies out fast enough. You can't move them around the board fast enough. You just start tearing through them. And let me just say this. Anthony was using the Athletic Zombie. The Athletic Zombie gives you a lot more freedom with how you're able to move your zombies. So, and he was, from what we could tell, he was playing it smart. He was playing it tactfully, and it just didn't work. And that will bring a good game down. If a game is good, but the balance is off, nobody's going to want to play this game, because nobody's going to want to go into a game that they know is geared against them to lose in the first place. And I really feel that, like I said, I think that Tiny Epic Zombies was sent out this early when it could have had more playtesting, because they're letting us do the playtesting, and they're going to get all we have to say about it, what worked, what didn't work, and that's going to be implemented in about a year, year and a half. Mark my words, about a year, year and a half, we're going to see Tiny Epic Zombies 2nd edition, which is going to fix all the problems from the first one, just like we saw happen with Tiny Epic Defenders. So you got to be really careful when you're buying any board game, but especially a one versus all board game. You have to be very careful. Go online, do your research, see what other players have already said about the game, especially the balance. No matter how much you love a game, if everyone talks about the balance being off, that it doesn't work, it's probably going to be a waste of your money. But it's your money, so do with it what you will. But I just wanted to give you this friendly warning that when it comes to one versus all competitive games, or even cooperative games, if it's one player versus all, it all comes down to the balance, no matter how much the genre or the theme is for the game that you love. Even if it's using a familiar mechanic that you know and you enjoy playing with, the balance is what it comes down to. How well did this game designer and this company work out the balance between the one player versus the all? So please, my friends, be very careful and do your homework more for a one versus all game than any other board game you're going to buy. Because it could very well bite you in the butt. So, I mean, I'm definitely down for at least 2 more games of Tiny Epic Zombies. I want to play against the AI, and I want to play a solo. And after that, we'll see how we feel about the game. If our first impression still holds true. I really hope it doesn't, because I want this game to be a success. And I'm looking forward to Tiny Epic Mechs. I already backed it, so I'm hoping that does good. And I'm just curious to see how the whole Tiny Mech series, or Tiny Epic series, that is, how it goes. But so those are my thoughts on game balance, specifically in one versus all games. Have you noticed these problems? Have you played any one versus all games where you've noticed that certain games are more balanced towards either the one player, who's usually the villain, and the all players, which are usually the heroes, the good guys, the investigators, whatever term is used? Have you noticed this problem? What games do you think do it well, and which games do you think fail, or even fail epically when they try to do this? Because I'd like to know, because I do appreciate one versus all games. Like I said, we got to be careful when we buy them. All right, my friends, thank you everyone for checking us out. Thank you for following us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And of course, as always, my friends, thank you so much. Thank you so much for subscribing to us right here on YouTube, for following us here, for liking our shows, our episodes, for commenting. And you know what? We're really the greatest thing that makes us all feel that we've done something right, we've accomplished something good here, That's when we see everyone sharing our videos. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Pixie presents a legendary game. My friends, as you know, it is time. I am out of here.